As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more. Enthusiast Gaming making a big acquisition. So this is from GamesBeat. And the headline here, Enthusiast Gaming acquires Addicting Games for $35 million. The deal supposedly is going to help Enthusiast expand its media and content platform for video game and esports fans to connect and engage with each other. This is a direct quote from the CEO, Adrian Montgomery. Basically, the acquisition delivers on Enthusiast's buy and build growth strategy and expands the company into casual gaming. And I think that's the key here that I'd love to explore with you guys is Enthusiast was primarily all about content, right? Like they had bought fan sites and some of the very largest fan sites, a lot of content around esports and gaming. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first game developer that they have bought. And Jeff, maybe you know better.
So I don't believe that in Addicting Games, are they a game developer or more of just like a platform?
I think they're like a not Flash based anymore, obviously, but it's like, old school Flash.
I remember literally playing this in like middle school.
Yeah, me too.
One
exactly.
Where you have to click the plane in the air.
So they have Shockwave, Type Racer, IO Game Space, Little Big Snake, Math Games, like all what they call instant games. So I don't know if they own the IP around those games. I don't know if they own the source code for those games, but fundamentally they deliver, they distribute them at the very least, right? And it says they're game developers. So this is a direct quote from them, from the CEO of Addicting Games. We're game developers. Everything we're doing is around product and around the player. And that's what we're focused on. Which, I mean, you could call that a bit of spin, a bit of fluff, considering how hyper casual these kinds of games are. But 28 employees at Addicting Games. So relatively sizable acquisition, $35 million. Does it make sense for an enthusiast to get into game development? I guess is the question I have for you guys.
I mean, I'm happy to go, but I don't know if anyone
go
else
ahead,
has thoughts first. I mean, I guess I don't necessarily, even though it says they are a game developer, clearly they do develop games. I don't know if I would use the lead in of is Enthusiast getting into game development? Because if the answer was yes, I would be bearish on this acquisition. And like anything else, it's hard to really judge this without knowing the numbers in terms of the revenue and EBITDA and stuff like that to really say, like, did they overpay or whatnot? But we could put that aside for now. I think what I like about Enthusiast is that they have a strategy and they stick to it. So that's why I think it's important, the piece that I prefaced. If it's them going into game development, I think that's veering away from their strategy. I wouldn't like that. But what I view their strategy as is building communities around gaming and then selling advertising into those eyeballs. And fundamentally, I think what this acquisition is basically that, right? You have a platform, you have people coming to the platform to play these games, and you're selling advertising against it. So I view this as very similar to them buying any other fan or gaming enthusiast website, where it's just a community of eyeballs that they can plug in their really rich and really diverse advertising network like into. So from that perspective, I think it's pretty on brand, and I think if the numbers make sense, it's a good acquisition because I love that they stick to that strategy.
The only numbers in here is Addicting Games has been around for 20 years, which is a long time, by the way. And they have more than 10 million players a month playing their games.
It's a lot of eyeballs.
It's a lot of eyeballs. Lindsay, you were going to say something.
During my vacation in Greece, like I talked about how in middle school I played Addicting Games and I played Bug on a Wire and Crazy Taxi, and we're like, oh, what happened to them? So I guess this is what happened to them. And I guess like I don't know what they do that's different than what they did when I was in middle school. 10 years, 15 years, however long ago I was in middle school. But I do, I mean, I think all of us really like the people at Enthusiast. So I can't say that I understand this or know where it's going, but I'm hoping that something really cool comes out of it.
I mean, Jeff's comment sort of simplifies this to a point where it does fit very neatly with their strategy, right? Like if you just say, this is not really a game developer, this is a website where a lot of people go and spend time. And now you're like, well, that fits, right? That's no different than Icy Veins or any of the other purchases they've made recently where, you know, these are communities built around games and fundamentally they're just buying eyeballs. There's a quote in here from Adrian where he says, which I liked. He says, we're trying, hang on, I got to find it now. We're trying to own the fan experience. And we're trying to get as many deep relationships with as many gamers as we possibly can. And I read that as we're trying to get as many eyeballs as we possibly can, right? Fundamentally. And so it fits. The question is 35 million, 10 million views a month. I don't know. Jeff, do you have thoughts on?
Not really. Without more numbers, I don't know if that's, you know, a lot or a little. I don't know how the stocks reacted. The whole market was kind of down today, so I don't know if it's a great gauge, but 35 million doesn't seem that crazy for 10 million eyeballs, and you know they're usually pretty disciplined buyers, so I would probably give the management team a lot of leeway.
It is an interesting approach. I guess the only other question I have on this is, does this mean the universe of community sites like an Icy Veins or something that's more just text, right? And images and content, traditional content, not games, like not interactive content. Is the pool that is available for enthusiasts to buy sort of getting smaller and smaller and they're having to be a bit more creative?
I think it's genuinely a unique pickup that they've got. Addicting Games, like it would be comparable, I think, to picking up something like miniclip.com, which gets, you know, probably
oh my God,
2 or 3 times what Addicting Games does in terms of 10 million eyeballs a month.
Next
but
up,
yeah,
Cool Math Games.
Exactly, right. And
Miniclip
I think
is owned by someone, I think.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's just unique because you really don't, when you think of games acquisitions and like, you know, companies like Enthusiast Gaming picking up companies, these websites aren't first to come to mind, especially after Flash was phased out, right? But apparently the numbers are still very strong. A lot of people are still going to these websites, and maybe it was just a portion of the industry that was kind of overlooked for a while, because I don't see why these numbers wouldn't be as strong as other advertising numbers in other forms of media. I don't understand. So maybe if anyone else has the info or the context.
Guess who owns Miniclip?
Who?
I'll give you one guess.
Amazon.
Tencent.
Yeah.
Tencent?
Tencent?
Yeah,
Wow.
Tencent.
Yeah, that's what Google says, at least. I don't know if they own the whole thing, or
Yeah.
shocking that they would own this.
Right.
Yeah,
Can I just add this one other piece to this enthusiast story, which was another acquisition 5 days before the Addicting Games one. So this was almost a week ago to the day here, where they announced the acquisition of GameNot. And this is much more in line with enthusiast strategy, right? It's a fan community website, GameNot.com, but it's around chess fans, which I think is amazing, right? In terms of how they're thinking through buying up these communities. And GameNot, what's interesting, gets 35 million monthly page views, which is 3 times the size of Addicting Games, and they acquired GameNot for $2.75 million.
It's interesting.
Which is interesting, right? Like they paid a tenth less for something doing 3 times more eyeballs.
Yeah, I guess, you know, the type of user, right? Because they said it's like a chess specific strategy website or something. Which is still cool that it gets that many eyeballs in the first place. I would not have ever thought that. But obviously the users you're getting for Addicting Games are engaged users that are clicking on multiple things, right?
Maybe staying longer.
Exactly, right. The quality of the advertising dollar is higher.
If you could pull that up, I think it said something like 80% are logged in, which is like, that seems crazy high for a website.
35 million monthly page views, of which 80% are from registered and logged in users.
Like I don't know what the norm would be, but that seems like dramatically higher. Like and just what, why that's important obviously is because the data that you have is so much greater from an advertising perspective. That people are
it's an engaged user.
Way more valuable.
Exactly, right, on so many levels.
Yeah, but the lesson here is that don't go build chess community sites because you'll get a lot of engaged users, but they're not worth much. Right?
Oh God, you only be able to make $3 million, not 30. Damn.
Well, and this one too, GameNot's been around since 2000, founded in the year 2000, which I think is interesting. Two pickups of sort of older properties, and maybe that's kind of an interesting undercurrent of enthusiast strategy, right? There are these communities that seem to be overlooked or they're a little long in the tooth, but are still quite valuable.
Long in the tooth. That's a good one.
I don't know.